Streaming from Oklahoma's own digital studio, this is Dave Davis with Your Money Matters.
Hey everybody, back here in the digital studio to talk about Your Money Matters, and today it's travel with the holiday season coming up. And maybe when you're watching this, it depends on what holiday's coming up, but we always know there's the next one and the next one. And a lot of us, like me, my family lives 800 miles away. Travel is always a part of the holidays, and maybe you're like that too. Well, we had a record-breaking travel year in 2024, but now, as Ted Rossman with Bankrate, Senior Industry Analyst with Bankrate, Ted Rossman explains, Ted, what is going on with travel this holiday season in 2025? Good morning.
Good morning. People say they're cutting back. 21% of U.S. adults say they're planning holiday travel this year. That's down from 27% a year ago. A few things are going on here. One is the cumulative effect of inflation. People are worried about high costs, high interest rates. That's catching up to them. I should also note, though, that we take this with a bit of a grain of salt in that the mood has been down throughout the year, and yet people have been spending anyway. Actual economic data has largely outpaced sentiment. So it might be that people say they're cutting back, but when push comes to shove, maybe they do travel. It also could be they're traveling differently. Maybe they're driving instead of flying, or maybe they're picking cheaper accommodations or cheaper flights. It's possible to travel, but also be cutting back on some of the expenses.
Right, and that's what's interesting is that the methodology, and you explained some of it there, but this is a survey ahead of time. So when the rubber meets the road, do you expect it to just be like what it was? Or do you think, this inflationary pressure and this price pressure, it could really play a big factor in it?
Well, it's an important point that this is sentiment. This is self-reported, people's plans. We also define travel for this purpose as flying or staying in a hotel or short-term rental. So if you're driving to grandma's house and staying at grandma's house, we didn't include that in our calculations. So it could be that people are making some of those modifications. We've seen a lot of uncertainty this year. We've seen a lot of economic inequality. The top 10% of earners are accounting for 50% of all spending, according to Moody's. That's an all-time record. So that's another thing that may explain some of this. It may be that a lot of people are cutting back, but yet the overall numbers look better because higher income folks are propping them up. Case in point, the TSA screened a record number of travelers per day during the first 9 months of the year.
Wow.
And yet there's been a lot of gloomy sentiment throughout the year. So it's almost like, which one is it? Like, are people cutting back? Are they not? It's kind of some of both. It's very much a mixed bag. You do have some people doing really well. You have others struggling, sadly, and some taking on debt to finance this. A third of holiday travelers are going into debt. So that's another lever that people are pulling. But I don't want to tell you can't have any fun, but it's not great to lug that expensive credit card debt into next year.
Yeah, certainly not. And you had a lot of great advice for travel tips and cost saving tips. And we're showing that graphic now. But first of all, using credit wisely. Obviously, if you can pay for it in cash and you can pay for that trip, that's great. But talk about the first point, just using that credit and how to use it.
Yeah, this gets back to the idea that I certainly don't want to tell people they can't have any fun or they can't travel for the holidays, but love the idea of using credit wisely. So if you have rewards, points, or miles, put those to use. A lot of times people forget how many credit card rewards they've earned, or frequent flyer miles, hotel points. You definitely want to put those to use. Half of credit card holders pay in full every month. So for them, life is great. They avoid interest, they get rewards, they get convenience, they get other buyer protections like travel insurance. It's the half who carry debt from month to month that we're worried about. There are some workarounds like a 0% balance transfer card or working with a reputable nonprofit credit counselor. You want to try to avoid credit card debt, though, if at all possible.
With the unnecessary costs, what are kind of some of those unnecessary costs that we run across, Ted, that we can cut out?
You definitely want to be really thoughtful about expenses. So maybe you can save money by driving instead of flying. Maybe you could take an early flight or a late flight or a connecting flight. These are ways you can kind of zig when others zag. Traveling on the holiday itself is a lot cheaper. Now, I realize that's not everybody's favorite thing to do, But you're sort of caught between a rock and a hard place if you want to travel at the most popular times on the peak days. Like Thanksgiving, for instance, Wednesday and Sunday, the airports are going to be really crowded. Can you go Thanksgiving morning and still get there in time? That can be a lot cheaper. Can you go 3 or 4 or 5 days early? Can you come back a few days later? These are the kind of modifications people can make. In other words, travel when other people don't want to. If you're willing to go to a further flung airport, if you're willing to take an overnight flight, an early flight, these are some ways you can save.
I'll just say from personal experience that my parents came in and flew out on Christmas Day. We got to have Christmas morning. You still get that flight on Christmas, but you get to have Christmas morning. And then they flew back on Christmas because, their grandkids, they just left their grandkids. I mean, we're here. So that really worked out for them. And I think maybe some people can be resistant to that. Oh gosh, like Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day. Well, first of all, Ted, the airports are a ghost town on those holidays. That's the one really nice thing. And number two, it is remarkably cheaper to fly. When you're talking about flying, tracking flight costs, that's also important, right?
It is. Yeah, you can use platforms like Google Flights to set alerts. Ideally, people are going to book early. I know a lot of times the conventional wisdom is about 6 weeks out. I tend to think the earlier the better, especially around peak times like the holidays. One thing that's tricky about the holidays is you can't time shift as much as you might over the summer, let's say. Like one of my tips for summer travel is be flexible. Go in the off season, the shoulder season, go where the deals are. Christmas, Thanksgiving, there's not as many deals because those are really popular dates. That said, there are some modifications you can make, like traveling on the holiday itself, or sometimes you hear about families being creative, and it's like they celebrate the holiday a few days early or a few days late, or that's what works for their schedule. I mean, that's not for everybody, but it is something to consider. Or think about day of week. Christmas is on a Thursday this year, so that's actually a good thing. That's going to stretch out the week, and a lot of people are going to go the previous weekend, and it just kind of spreads it out. You have a little more flexibility with Christmas. Thanksgiving, you kind of get hemmed in by the Wednesday Sunday thing, but maybe, as we've said, there's some workarounds.
Yeah, a lot of times with, like I said, my family being so far away and then my sister even farther away from that, you're like, okay, so here's what I want to do. I want to do Wednesday through Sunday, and then you look at the ticket prices, and it's $2,300, $2,600 for 4 people, including 2 small children. And you're like, okay, so what if we flew in a little later? I mean, really, it kind of dictates because they've got you with the holidays. I mean, they know there's the days, but I agree with you, Ted. There's ways that you can get creative. There are ways, once you see that sticker shock, that you can figure it out. Which brings me to my other point. In this sentiment survey, you mentioned there were generations and people in certain life stages that were less likely to travel. Tell us about who told you they probably weren't going to spend as much traveling this year.
The biggest cutbacks are among Gen Zers, millennials, parents with kids under 18, and men. Especially those people in their 20s and 30s, that often correlates with those who have young kids. And I suspect it's exactly what you're saying, is that when you multiply that out by the family of 3, 4, or 5 people, it's just really expensive. And that's one of the big reasons why people in those age brackets are cutting back. They also have other financial pressures, as we know, whether that's student loans, mortgages, childcare. It's that cumulative effect that's most important. Prices have not run away from us over the past few months or even the past year. But when we zoom back a bit and we say, well, what did things cost back in, say, 2020? That's where we've seen the 25% jump. And it's just not sustainable. People have dipped into savings, they've taken on debt. A lot of people are feeling pretty tapped out at this point.
I agree. Well, Ted Rossman, this has been a really enlightening conversation. And again, a sentiment survey, and we know that maybe more people will end up traveling. But either way, I think people can look back on this. If you're watching this a year from this taping date, this is going to be relevant. Finding ways to save on travel when they know it's the travel season and the airlines and all that, it's going to be more expensive. Finding those ways to save, I think, is just timeless advice. So Ted Rossman with Bankrate, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
And we will have more news on 6 later. I'll be on 6 in the morning. But for now, from the Digital Desk, I'm Dave. He's Ted. We'll see you later.
Thank you for watching this Oklahoma Zone Digital Studio stream. Stay with News on 6 online and on television anytime for the latest news, weather, and sports.